And we're live. All right, so welcome everyone to this next week. To this week's Ubuntu Community Team Q&A. I'm David Planella, and sorry that you won't see my face today. My camera is somehow playing up, but we've got the very handsome Michael Hall here with me, who'll make up for that.
Hello.
All right. So as every week, just as a reminder for everyone who's joining for the first time, this is a session where you should feel free to ask any questions that you've got about Ubuntu, open source in general, 2020 plus. We'll do our best to answer them. Just make sure that you don't ask support questions. There are better channels that can cater for that. But other than that, you can pretty much ask everything. If you are looking at ubuntuonair.com, you should see chat widget where you can ask your questions. We're looking at this while we're doing the session, and if you prepend them with the word question and the colon, then it makes it easier for us to see them. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So fire away your questions whenever you've got some. We've got some topics to talk about as well, but before we get onto those, Mike, have I forgotten anything about the setup?
About setting up the broadcast?
Sorry, yeah, I just meant if there's anything else that we need to tell folks who are joining before.
Yeah, if you have questions, ask them in the IRC. Start them with the word question in all caps so that we see them. I'll get a nice yellow highlight on them so that I don't miss them.
Cool. All right. So the other thing is, if anyone's joining the session and as on IRC and can confirm that the sound is coming through all right, that's a bit of a tradition. But yeah, if you could just dial in.
Confirm that, so we're good to go.
Good. All right. Okay. So before we start talking about questions, we've got a couple of things that might be worth highlighting that are happening this week or the next. I think I'll start with the Ubuntu Scopes contest. You might have seen it if you follow developer.ubuntu.com, but last week we announced a developer competition to write scopes. Some of you might be familiar with previous contests that we've been running for app development. These were were called the Ubuntu App Showdowns. So right now what we've got running is the Scope Showdown. And scopes are something that's pretty much unique in Ubuntu, or Ubuntu for phones and so on desktop as well, where a scope is a piece of software in the same sense as an app, but it's got it's a whole different concept in terms of how you present the information. So for scopes, what we do is to surface information without the need of having to open a full app. And this is something that you can develop as someone who's has already been writing apps for Ubuntu, and it's something that you can submit to the store as well. So in that regard, we've got all of the tools to start writing scopes, and you should definitely check out the Ubuntu Scope Showdown. If you go to developer.ubuntu.com/showdown, you'll see all of the rules of the contests. You'll find links on how to get started writing your first scope, and you'll also see the nice prizes that we've got. We've got quite a lot of prizes going on for this contest. We've got a Dell XPS Sputnik laptop with Ubuntu preloaded. We've got some really nice Bluetooth speakers. We've got the Nexus 7 running Ubuntu, and we've got a couple of Ubuntu bundles with Ubuntu products from the Ubuntu shop. So all in all, it's a very nice set of prizes. for 5 weeks to develop a scope. If you want to learn more about writing scopes, stay tuned for the Scopes workshop coming up this week and next week as part of the Ubuntu Online Summit. And if you got any questions, as usual, regarding the scope contest, just let us know. Cool.
I posted the URL in the IRC window there, so if you're following along, it's developer.ubuntu.com/showdown. It has all of the information that you need to get started, links to all of the tutorials and guides and stuff that David Calais has been writing for us. And of course, if you have any questions or need help with it, we're in #ubuntu-app-devel on Freenode IRC. You can find us there. Myself, David, anyone else in the community team, David Calais, who I mentioned was writing a lot of documentation for us, and also the people responsible for writing the APIs and frameworks for scopes themselves. So you can get a lot of support there. I'll go ahead and put that in the IRC. Again, #ubuntu-app-devel.
Cool. Yeah, and on developer.ubuntu.com/showdown, the other link that Mike posted, you'll also find other places in which you can ask questions other than IRC. We've got Ask Ubuntu. We've got our social media accounts as well, where actually you can not only ask questions, but you can also share the progress you're doing with scopes. One of the criteria that the judges will follow when scoring the scope submitted will be how well it's been promoted as well on the social media. So feel free to talk more about your scopes and the work that you're doing, which is something that we like to see and the judges will like to see as well.
And if you're looking for some ideas on what to write a scope for, we have a subreddit that's been used in past events like this. It's /r/Ubuntu App Showdown. Ignore the app part. We're using it for scopes this time around. And people have started posting in ideas for different kinds of scopes and different content that you could write a scope around. So if you have a desire to enter the contest, but inspiration on what to do, go there and find what's popular. If you want to go and just upvote the things that you want to see done, if you're not planning on entering the contest, you can do that there also. Reddit's very good for letting you bring good ideas up to the surface. So we're using it for that also.
Cool. I think with that we can start answering the first questions that we've got. I know there are two questions from Aquarius. I think I'll tackle the one about the contest and scopes first, and then we can talk about the summit in more detail later on. So yep. Aquarius is asking, will testing scopes in the desktop tool come to 14.04, or is the policy now that LTS users have to use the emulator to test stuff? So yeah, unfortunately I don't have an answer that you probably will like, Stuart. So right now the policy is that well, essentially we don't have the resources to backport all of the libraries to support the desktop tool to run on 14.04. So if you want to run the desktop tool or the Unity Scopes tool on the desktop, you'll have to move to 14.10. However, you can always run scopes on 14.04 on the emulator or on the device. So essentially, the desktop tool is not supported, and I don't foresee it being supported anytime soon on 14.04. However, the emulator and devices are still supported, regardless of the version of your desktop.
And the reason for this is because the Scopes testing tool actually shares quite a bit of code with the Unity 8-, and a lot of that work that went into the Unity 8- and 14.10 would be very difficult to backport to 14.04 because of both the Scopes APIs and the daemons that run them, and also because of dependencies on newer versions of Qt itself. So that's the reason that we can't easily just make the test tool run on 14.04. But it does run well on the emulator. It runs well on the device. Benjamin Zeller on the SDK team has put a lot of work into really improving that experience and making it easier for scope developers to launch scopes and also to debug scopes that are running in the emulator and on your device. So while you can't run it directly on the desktop in 14.04, we have made it quite a bit easier than it was even just a few months ago.
Yeah, indeed. And the nice thing, I'm sorry, I think I'll have to switch off my camera. It's playing up. Sorry about that. So the nice thing about the support, as Mike was saying, is that you can run apps in the same way as they would be running in production, and you can debug them as well. Meaning that when you hit the play button on Qt Creator, the ID to write scopes, it will automatically package your scope as a click package, and it will run it. It will install it on the device from that click package, and it will run it from there. So it will be the same environment as if a user would have downloaded your click package from the Ubuntu store, which is where you would submit them. And yeah, it's essentially the same environment, only that you've got debugging capabilities in addition.
All right, if you have any more questions on the Showdown or Scopes development in general or Scopes in general, feel free to ask them in the IRC channel. Again, start them with the word question in all caps so that I get a highlight. I'm going to take a minute right now to switch topics and talk about the online summit for a little bit. Is that okay with you, David?
Yeah, sure. Good.
All right. So the Ubuntu Online Summit is the evolution of the Ubuntu Developer Summit, which we took online a couple of years ago. So every cycle we do a set of online sessions now where we plan work that's going on in Ubuntu over the course of the next cycle. And now with the evolution to the Ubuntu Online Summit, we've also included a lot of presentations for end users, for developers who are just interested in getting updates on what's going on, that kind of thing. So the next one of those is coming up next week. It's going to be November the 12th through the 14th. We are once again going to be using summit.ubuntu.com for our schedule for that. So if you're interested in seeing what's going on, you'll want to follow that on, again, summit.ubuntu.com. We don't have much on the schedule yet because we've just started recruiting sessions. We have a whole list of track leads for our different tracks. If you have an idea for a session that you want to run, you should reach out to one of these track leads and they can tell you how to get that submitted and added to the schedule. I've posted links in the IRC both to the main UOS 1411 page, which is this current summit, and also to the track leads page where you can find the track leads for the different tracks. The tracks that we have this time are the same as the ones that we had last time. That is the app developers track, which is going to include both app development and scope development. So you've got Tim Peters, who's on the SDK team, myself and Alan Pope from the community team, and Nekalesh, who's one of our core apps developers. So anything that's related to developing apps, developing the platform and framework that apps use. If you want to show off your app or something interesting that you're working on for your app, those would be good sessions to have also. So reach out to one of us and we will help you get that set up. We have a cloud and DevOps track, which is staffed by a bunch of people from our server, cloud, and Juju teams. So anything that's related to Juju, cloud deployments, OpenStack, any of those kinds of cloud technologies, whether it's, again, planning or presentations, you can get those on their track and on their schedule. We, of course, have a community track, which is staffed by David and also Daniel Holbach on our team. We also have Jose and Svetlana from the community that are helping us with that. That'll cover anything from community projects and local teamwork to giving presentations on how to improve activity within the community or within a specific group in the activity within the community. Then we've got an Ubuntu developer track, which is kind of the merging of what the traditional UDS tracks were. So we've got people from the desktop team, from foundations, all over Ubuntu development working on that. So this is where you would have the traditional UDS style tracks, where it's planning new versions of packages, planning the Debian sync. There will, I assume, be discussions on the migration to systemd and when that's going to take place. There will probably be quite a bit of discussion on the work that's going to be going into Unity 8 to make that ready for the desktop over the next 2 releases. And anything that's a major change to Ubuntu, the OS, or the distro would go into that track. And then finally, we have a users track, which is fairly new. This is only our second online summit using a users track. And this is really things that are geared directly towards people who are just end users of Ubuntu. So there would be sessions showing off some of the basics of Ubuntu and Unity, how to get started, some basic things that they can do to get involved online, using like Ask Ubuntu or the forums or something like that. And also discussions on things that we can do to improve the user experience and support end users in Ubuntu. And again, that's staffed by Nick Skaggs on the community team, Elfie, who's been active in the community for quite a long time, and Scarlett Clark from the Ubuntu community is helping out with that also. Again, reach out to any of these track leads if you're interested in running a session. All you have to do is be able to create a Google Plus on-air hangout, such as this one right here. The format's very similar. You'll have a video and you'll have an embedded IRC that goes along with it. People who can join the video will join and discuss it with you live. People who can't join the video will still be able to interact with you on IRC. All right, that's pretty much it about Summit. I think we had a question on that from Aquarius at the beginning. On that. All right. Oh, he said, who do I ping? He's registered in Launchpad for the sprint, but not showing up in the Summit. So yeah, that's any technical problems with the Summit webpage itself. Go ahead and ping me about, and I'll get those taken care of. That just sounds like I need to get IS to update some cron jobs to get the import working. All right, are there any other questions on Summit or the online Summit itself? Don't see any.
No, it seems not so far. So I think we can move on to the next question, and if there are any questions about Summit, then we can go back to it. So we've got a question from LOS. Does Canonical plan to integrate Ubuntu Phone with Ubuntu Desktop? So yeah, very much so. Essentially, the idea is to get a full convergent system, as in getting the same code that's running on or merging the 2 code bases from phone and desktop, to ultimately have everything running on the same software. Not only that, but also that Ubuntu scales well to any different format. And when I say scale, I don't mean only form factor, but I'm also talking in terms of UX, making sure that Ubuntu runs on all devices and all form factors. As Mike was mentioning, there will be some discussions at the Ubuntu Online Summit next week regarding the plans for convergence, in particular for the road to 1604. And there's been some work already been done in that area. So, for example, the indicators that run on desktop and phone already share the same code base. There's a Unity 8 session which you can install for testing purposes on the desktop already. Unity 8 is the version of Unity, the Ubuntu shell that runs on the phone right now, and there's work going on to make it work on the desktop as well. So yeah, pretty much a yes to your question.
Now you'll hear us talk about convergence a lot, and what we mean by that is that we want to have one code base that will power all of these different devices, whether it's having 2 separate devices that are running the same code base, or having one device that's actually giving you 2 different experiences, whether it's docked or not. And to do that, we're designing not only Unity, but also the underlying platform and the apps that we're building on top of that in a way that they can adapt to both larger screen sizes and also different input methods. So if you have a keyboard and mouse, will give you a slightly different experience than if you just have a touch screen. So even though we're going to merge the Ubuntu phone with the Ubuntu desktop, you're not going to get a phone or tablet experience on the desktop. You're still going to have a desktop experience just like you do now with Unity 7. It's just going to be sharing the same code base. And that makes it easier for app developers or Scopes developers because they've only got one platform to target. You don't have to write one version of your app for the phone and another version of your app for the desktop. You'll be able to write just one app that works on both. And in fact, all of our core apps have started introducing desktop-specific features. So things like keyboard navigation, different layouts that are easier to use with a mouse or a touchpad instead of just a touch screen interface. And Unity 8 will go the same way. So the goal is to give you the best experience for that form factor, regardless of the form factor, but to do it all with just one code base and one platform. So when we say convergence, that's what we mean. And when we talk about merging the phone and the desktop, again, you're still going to have a desktop interface, even when you have Unity 8 on there, as long as you've got desktop capabilities like a keyboard and a mouse. So I hope that answers your question and clears up any confusion that anybody might have on that.
Cool. All right, there's another question by guest 44344. By the time BQ and Meizu being released, Nexus 4 users will experience the same usability of Ubuntu Touch as BQ and Meizu users. So if I understand it correctly, the question is essentially whether you'll get the same UI on the Nexus 4 image, which is currently our reference device, as in the commercial devices, such as the ones from BQ and Meizu. Essentially, yes. I'll call them the commercial devices. The commercial devices releases are based on the public images. However, manufacturers might want to change a few things to add value to their offering, essentially. So so it might be that some apps which are not in the public image are available on the commercial builds, or some scopes that are not available on the public image are available on the commercial builds. I'll say this pretty much up to the manufacturer. The whole UX experience of Ubuntu will still be there in any case, but we've got this concept whereby with Scopes as a developer, but probably more as a carrier or as an OEM, you've got the ability of modifying the whole UI and modifying the user experience by adding or removing scopes. So you should expect to see more and more on this as we're getting more commercial devices, whereby rather than fragmenting the ecosystem and modifying the underlying platform, you'll see a customization layer in the sense that there will be carrier-specific or OEM-specific scopes. But the whole idea, I say, of the Ubuntu UX, the whole gestures, story, indicators, launcher, and so on, will still be there in any. You'll still recognize Ubuntu everywhere you see it.
There will be a couple of things that you won't have on the Nexus 4 because of hardware limitations. For example, we now have the ability to access an SD card on the phone, but the Nexus 4 doesn't have an SD card slot, so you can't use that, but you'll be able to use that on the BQ and Meizu. We've added support for dual SIM, which is very popular for a lot of markets. And again, the Nexus 4 doesn't have that hardware capability, so you're not going to be able to take advantage of that also. But like David said, all of the foundational platform things will all be there. The Nexus 4 is still our reference device. It's still where most of us within Canonical do our regular testing of Ubuntu. So it's still going to get a high amount of focus, and probably will have either releases in sync with the commercial devices, or maybe even have stuff landing sooner for the Nexus 4 than for the commercial devices, because it is still our reference platform and our development target. All right, Akiva asks, are there composite sensors in Ubuntu for phones? For example, in Android, there's a sensor called rotation vector. He gives a really long description of how that works, but the TLDR is that it uses input from multiple sensors to give you another set of information that's a composite of all of that. I don't know how much of that we have right now. If we do have any, it would go through the Qt APIs. You mentioned the Qt rotation sensor. So if we have that kind of information, it would go through that. There's a sensor status app in the store that will show you the output from a bunch of the different sensors that we support. I don't know if that's one of them. You would have to check. If it's something that you'd like to see added, please file a bug, and we will get that on our list of things that can be added. And if you know how to add that and can help us add that, feel free to grab the source code for, I guess it would be the Qt Ubuntu or Qt Platform Ubuntu. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's the layer where we add the bridge between Ubuntu and the Qt APIs. So if you can help us add it there, be sure to get in touch with the SDK guys and the phone developers and help us do that.
Cool. So while he's here, I should also mention that Akiva, who just asked this question, is one of the persons who have contributed to core apps. Not only one of them, as many developers focus on, but on many of them. In particular, lately we got, thanks to him and to the file manager developers, the migration to the new header in the SDK. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say a word of thanks to you, Akiva, and to everyone who's contributed to the core apps. This has been a very successful project. We've got a set of very nice applications that have been exclusively created by the community, and they are published and installed by default. Some of them on the public image, and also on commercial builds as well. So that's community power for you. So thanks a lot for your contributions.
Right. His next question is, are there any sprints going on now? Going on right now, or at least over the weekend, it may still be going on, is the OpenStack Summit in Paris. And I know we've got quite a few people from Canonical and people from the Ubuntu community that are out there enjoying all of the sites and attractions that Paris has to offer, and also having a really good time talking about what's going on in OpenStack and the OpenStack world. And I think we've had a couple of announcements there that Marcus has mentioned in his keynotes. So if you're interested in anything cloud-related, that's going on right now, and you can find out more information through Google, I would assume. But I don't think there's any Canonical sprints going on at the moment. We just finished one in the Washington, D.C. area around client devices, so phones and tablets. And several people have blogged about that. I know Nick Skaggs was blogging every day during that week. So if you go to his blog, which is theorangenotebook.something, I don't remember if it's .com or .org. Let me see. Theorangenotebook.com. That's his blog. You can read about it there. We've had a couple other people who have written blog posts about their experience there.
Yeah. And perhaps to expand a bit on what the, I mean, you can see the report, the fully detailed report by Nick Skaggs in there and by other people. But I mean, if you want to get the summary, at least from our side of things, from the community team, we're also participating there as part of the Ubuntu engineering department. Essentially, it was a week where where everyone who's working on the phone got together to ramp up for the release, and essentially to fix bugs and to discuss the plans in the forthcoming months. We also had subset of the Ubuntu core developers who participated in the sprint. These are the people who, as I was saying earlier, are volunteers who contribute to the Core Apps project. And we work on several different, or they worked in several different areas. The one that's been receiving quite a lot of attention lately has been the Music app redesign, which is looking really awesome right now. So Victor Thompson and Andrew Heisen are working on this redesign, and hopefully we can see it soon in the store. It's looking pretty good, as I say, and it's already pretty much there in terms of functionality. So hopefully we can get this soon. Without going into more detail, so because we've got questions coming in, we also worked on other core apps such as the Dog Viewer, which got a revival essentially by Stefano Versagnassi. And this is one that I'm particularly looking forward to seeing in the store as well, and being able to read documents on the phone. Calendar, Terminal, and other applications also got attention. But if you've got any questions regarding any of these, just let us know, and then we can expand. All right.
All right, Akiva has a question about click packages. He's asking if there's any pending features, or is it basically complete? The one pending feature that I know about that's been discussed almost since the beginning is support for fat packages, so that you can combine binaries for multiple architectures in the same package. I believe that work is still going on. I don't know what the ETA is on that. I think Michael Vogt is the new upstream maintainer for Click, so he might be able to answer your questions. It's MVO on IRC. You could probably find him on Ubuntu-Devel or Ubuntu-Desktop. I don't know of any other features that are currently planned for Click. A lot of the Click functionality actually takes place in install hooks. So there could be quite a bit more going on there that's not necessarily part of Click itself.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else myself either. So yeah, but as Mike is saying, the best person to ask is MVO on IRC. So you can find him on #Ubuntu-touch or #Ubuntu-devel.
I do remember one more that they talked about, and that is actually having it able to talk to an upstream repository for Click packages. So the same way apt does, where it can search a repo for packages to download and install. They were talking about adding that to Click also, because right now it only works with local packages. You have to download them first and then tell Click about them. So that may be coming soon also.
All right, so guest 44344 is asking just one more, and about the performance. Currently the Nexus 4 seems a bit slow on opening apps. Is there any plan to fix this? Yes, very much so. I mean, there's a focus on performance as well, not only for Nexus 4 but also for the commercial devices. There's several approaches going on. One has been to precompile QML apps. So there's been already an improvement in the startup time of applications. There was another approach which was discussed, but I don't know the status of, which was about preloading applications that are most commonly used. So, for example, the Dialer app. So this is just to give you a sample of the work that's going on right now. Pretty much right now, the most important focus is to get those startup times reduced. So this is something that we're constantly tracking and improving on.
Yeah, I know there's some work going on the underlying platform side to boost performance there, but the bulk of the startup time is actually, as David said, in getting the QML parsed and building up the UI for that. So there's work going on both on our side and also in upstream Qt to provide ways to pre-compile that so that you don't have to, or the system doesn't have to redo all of that work every time you load the app. And that should cut down the startup time for apps pretty significantly. Like I said, that was the most time-consuming part of app startup. And I think that's almost ready to land. It's not in the latest images yet. There were still some bugs, I think, to work out, but it's getting very close.
Yeah, and also as an app developer, so we've been talking about the parts in the platform that can be that are being worked on to mitigate this, or rather to improve performance and startup. There are also things that you can do on as a developer, like on the client side, or building on the platform side. You should definitely check out the new tutorial that we've got on performance on developer.ubuntu.com. Where you'll find tips on how to improve the performance of your applications in general.
And I know there's also work going into the Oxide component, which is our Chromium wrapper that powers both the web browser and also lightweight web apps to improve the performance on those. Mostly around memory consumption on that, but they've also been improving the speed as well. All right, next question. Akiva asks, what pending bonus features do you guys want to see in the core apps? A good question. David, what features do you want to see?
Oh, that's a wish list. All right. I mean, one of the things that we're working on right now is let me just take Music app as an example. Since this is one of the ones we've been focusing in more in the latest times. So we've been doing a redesign in terms of big features. There are not that many. That I can think of right now. One thing that, or two things in general that we want to focus on for core apps are convergence, where we will pick a couple of applications that will be the pathfinders or the pioneer applications where we will explore the patterns for convergence and getting them working well on the desktop. And essentially, the design team are working on this. So this will be an overall arching theme for core apps, convergence. So far we've been talking about music as an example app to use for that. We've been even talking about file manager, although file manager might not be the best candidate as we're moving to more of a model of using scopes to access your content. But still, File Manager is a very popular application on the phone, and still on the desktop it is still essential. The other thing, or the other theme that we're working on, or we're planning to work on rather, is to integrate more scopes with core apps. One example being the Reminders app. This is the client app for Evernote. And we've got two different teams working on the app and the scope, which we're now merging into one. And we're trying to find ways in which to share data between in which it would be good to share data between the scopes and the app. As an example, the scope, the Reminder scope right now, or the Evernote scope right now, is showing you the latest notes that you've got, and it allows you to view a note, and if you need to do any more work on that note, for example, editing it, you can open it in the app from the scope. So essentially, the scope provides you a very, very quick view of your content, And if you need to do more complex operations, then you've got the full experience with the app. But the idea is that the most common actions that you do with your content will be done with the scope, and then, as I say, for more complex actions, you'd go to an app. Another thing that's coming up as well is, as I was mentioning, the doc viewer. We haven't had a working doc viewer that we could push to the store up until now. This is not because we didn't have activity on the app. We had Anthony Granger, who did an excellent job of creating the app from scratch, and other contributors have contributed as well. But we're missing the latest step of being able to access the content to show on the doc viewer via the content hub. The content tab is ready right now, and we've got a new contributor, Stefan Alberts-Ignasi, who is actually getting the app up and running again. Other than that, calendar is seeing a bit of a redesign as well, and I'm just trying to see if there's anything else big coming up.
I know there's work going on in the terminal, but to upgrade
yes.
the actual terminal component itself and make that reusable in other apps.
Yes.
And also to add features like scroll back support, multiple tabs support. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And the terminal, not only that, terminals were looking really sexy. I mean, we even got designers to look at the terminal during the Washington sprint, which is, to me, is pretty much a feat in itself. All right,
yeah, if you use terminal on the phone already, it's already surprisingly useful on a little touch screen. There were little features like double tap to do tab completion, scrolling to do going forward and backwards in your shell command history. A lot of little things like that that really make it very, very usable for being on a touch screen.
Cool. All right.
Looking at that, it's not quite a core app, but the native email client Deco is really very quickly. I heard they added Content Hub support for attachments. They're working on having it integrate with your contacts. So there's quite a bit of work going on into Deco, and it's really starting to come together and be a really nice email client. So I'm looking forward to all of the things that they're adding to that.
Definitely, and we've got the design team also looking at Deco. We actually had a call with them this morning, and I think both the design team and the Deco developers are very, very excited about starting to work together. Okay, so next question. We've got about 10 minutes, so I'll try to be quick. Next question by N3TJ4CKR. In terms of development, how far behind is the tablet build compared with the phone? That's a bit difficult to quantify. Oh, Mike, do you want to go for it?
No, I was just unmuting myself.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's a bit difficult to quantify because we're pretty much focused on the phone. So essentially, the phone and the tablet share the same code base. But the tablet is a bit behind simply because of the fact that right now we're very much focused on the launch of the first commercial devices. So things like side stage, for example, needs still a bit of work. The applications themselves need a bit of work in looking good and being usable on a tablet form factor. So these are pretty much the bullet points that I can give you. I say it's a bit difficult to quantify.
Yeah, I would say 90 to 95% of the tablet's work is shared by the phone. So for the parts that overlap, it's all going to be there. It's just going to be the things that are different in the tablet, like you said, the side stage, and taking advantage of the slightly larger screen size. That's going to be the only difference. And some of the core apps already do that, like File Manager does that. I think I know Weather does. I think Calendar does. So there's already quite a bit of work going on into that, but there's still work left to be done. From what I've seen, I've only played with a Nexus 10 a little bit, but it looks very usable already.
Cool. All right, so next question from Aquarius. Now that there's no home scope, there is no search box which searches all scopes and shows results, how will people discover new scopes without configuring their dash to include them? What's the planned upcoming design for how the dash will work now? So two questions. To answer the first one, right now what we have though is something called aggregated scopes, which is something that you're probably already familiar with. There is no such thing as searching all scopes, but rather you'll be using an aggregated scope that searches all of the scopes that are contained within that aggregated scope. So that functionality is there already. Only that we don't have any such scopes in the public build yet. But for one thing, I'd very much like to see something like that submitted as part of the Ubuntu Scopes Showdown contest. So that's their one way in which people will discover content rather than scopes. So, for example, you could have a news scope that aggregates sources from different places. I don't know, from different media sites online, from different newspapers and so on. As the plan for the upcoming design for how the dash will work now, I'm not sure there's much that I can tell simply because I'm not that very familiar with those plans. Perhaps Mike might know more.
So what used to be the home scope functionality still exists to a little bit of an extent in the dash management screen. So if you swipe up from the bottom from anywhere in the dash, you'll get to where you see all of your scopes. And there's a search field in there. So if you search for example, I searched for Aquarius, you'll get some search results, but then you'll also get a list of recommended scopes. So it got the Coming of the Age of Aquarius, which is a song from 1967. And you'll see it lists things like Amazon and Groove Shark and 7 Digital, where you can go and either play or download those. So it's not quite as functional as the old home scope. It doesn't return you a whole bunch of results. It will surface some when it thinks it's got some good matches, and then it'll list scopes that you can try. And then if you go and you click on one of those, I'll go ahead and click on the Amazon one, it'll go and it'll search that specific scope for the matching term. So that's how it currently works. I know there's a lot of thought and design work going on right now to try and improve that and make that more useful. But I haven't seen any of the outcome of that yet, so I don't know what it's actually going to look like when it's done.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. So Akiva is asking, to what extent does Ubuntu Touch support text-to-speech? Will you be able to use it with Google, for example? Mike, I think I might have to move this question to you. I know that there was some work in the past going on to use something called Sphinx to support text-to-speech, but I'm not really familiar with the current status.
Pocket Sphinx actually went the other way. It was speech-to-text, so it was voice recognition. There was some work going into that. It was difficult and slow, last I heard. That's probably waiting on the redesign of the dash right now, because that was the primary target for Pocket Sphinx. As far as going from text to speech, I'm sure it's possible. I mean, you can get a library that'll do that and include that in your app. I don't know of any good ones, and I don't have any recommendations. And as far as I know, there's nothing in the platform APIs that we offer that can do that out of the box. So you would have to find something to include in your app to do that. But it should be possible. There's no reason it wouldn't be. Akiva's got all the important questions in here. Let's see. We'll skip ahead. Can you implement phone vibration in your app, or does it require a Qt library? The answer is yes to both. There is a Qt library. It's the feedback library, and you can access that from your app through QML. It's also available for C++, but I've gone ahead and I've posted a link to the QML API docs for that. That's already used in several of our apps to give haptic feedback. It's used in the UI toolkit also. So that's there, that works. You can put it in your app however you want. All right, and we've got 2 minutes left, and just one very important question. Are you jealous of Mark Shuttleworth's beard?
Is the beard not gone, by the way?
No, the beard is still there.
What should we say?
It is a very impressive beard. I'm not jealous of it just because I don't think I would look good with a beard. I think I would look even more ridiculous than I currently do without one. So I'm impressed by it. I'm not jealous of it, no.
Yeah, I think I'll go for the diplomatic answer as well.
One more question from Akiva. When will you guys be on Linux Unplugged? So I was on one of those not too long ago. I think it was Linux Unplugged. Certainly wouldn't mind being back on. So if any of the guys from Jupiter Broadcasting are watching, I wouldn't mind being back on. I'm sure David wouldn't mind being on either. Pretty much anyone in the community team, I'm sure, would be happy to come on and talk to you guys on there. And with that, we have run out of time. David, was there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
No, I mean, just as a reminder, as we already said, next week we've got the Ubuntu Online Summit, so you can go to summit.ubuntu.com to see what sessions we've got scheduled. You should also feel free to schedule new sessions, and stay tuned for the new Scopes workshops to be announced and run later on in the week. I'm thinking probably on Thursday, but we'll post something on developer.ubuntu.com with the on the blog for developer.ubuntu.com with the schedule.
All right, and just a reminder, these videos are recorded. You can go back and watch this one as well as anything else that we've recorded on Ubuntu On Air on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Ubuntu On Air. You can also follow us on Twitter for announcements at Ubuntu On Air over there as well. We're on Google+. Also, there's an Ubuntu On Air page there you can follow. We also have Google+ and Facebook communities for Ubuntu app development, which also includes scope development. So if you're interested in participating in that, be sure to join those communities. We've got a lot of friendly people there who can help you out, give you inspiration. You can give them inspiration, and eventually you can help them out too. Let's see. Sridhar, I didn't see your question. Did you start it with the word in all caps?
No, I think so. The thing is, Sridhar, if you want to ask questions, you should probably post them with pre-pending question on the IRC channel, and then we answer them in here. So we're about to wrap up the Hangout, but if you've got any question, you can just write it on IRC, and we can answer it straight away on IRC.
And as Popey mentions, this isn't a real great place to get support. We are technical people, but we are not overly technical. We can't answer a lot of tech support questions or give you a lot of deep insight into the workings of Ubuntu. So if you have questions about anything like that, there are better channels, such as askubuntu.com, where you'll get better support and better help than you will in here.
All right, so with that, I think that's it. So thank you everyone for watching, and see you all next week, and bring on your questions.
All right, thanks everyone.
All right, bye-bye.